Hello and welcome to the July 23rd, 2025 edition of the Mr. Joe Bipolar Podcast. My name is Mr. Joe. This is my neighborhood. This is my life. But this is our podcast journey. Welcome to the Mr. Joe Bipolar Podcast. Hello everybody and welcome to another edition of the Mr. Joe Bipolar Podcast. My name is Mr. Joe, of course, and it is awesome to have everybody here with me today. And of course, it's always wonderful to be out there with you as well. What I'm starting to realize is that more and more people are somewhat scared to be out there with you. And what I mean by that is social anxiety has really kicked it up a notch, I feel like, guys. Something I've been hearing a lot about lately, something that's been discussed amongst my friends, amongst my coworkers, amongst my family. For some reason, it just keeps getting brought up. Now, we're going to discuss it, obviously, with Mr. Joe. Mr. Joe usually does not give away my topic. Not that it's already given away for the most part when you see the title. But I know I don't usually shoot right into what we're going to talk about. But I felt like I needed to today because it's an important topic. And I want to make sure everybody is paying attention. For those of you who deal with social anxiety, for those of you who know somebody that deals with social anxiety, we got to talk because there's a lot to talk about. There are a lot of things I would like to suggest for our neighborhood. Because the truth of the matter is, Mr. Joe, although he does experience it once in a blue moon still, it's like night and day as compared to what I used to be. Mr. Joe never wanted to be out of his house. I couldn't be around people. I would literally dread the idea of walking into a room or a place and having to say a single word to anybody. Okay, I would predict what the day was going to be like, predict what the social aspect of wherever I was going was going to be like, and usually I was wrong, by the way, but I'd have all these feelings inside as to what the heck is going to go on when Mr. Joe enters into this social situation. Well, here's what's going to go on. A, B, C, and D. I get myself all worked up, and usually none of it goes on, and I end up having a grand old time. So, now that's not all the time, so I get it. We're going to talk about it. Before we talk about it, please visit my website. It's mrjoe.podbean.com. That's misterjoe.podbean.com. If you'd like to talk, you can email me at mrjoebp. That's mrjoebp@yahoo.com. If you would like to shop for some microdosing options, you have SoulCybin, probably the best out there. SoulCybin.org/mrjoebp. You put in that old coupon code at the end, you get yourself 15% off MRJOEBP. If for some reason, guys, that coupon code is not working, shoot me an email and I should be able to give you something else, because I do know that they have a limitation on the Mr. Joe coupons. So definitely get in touch with me if they deny you, and I'll throw you out something else out there. If you're interested in microdosing through chocolates and gummies and truffles and dried mushrooms, different strains of that, you could simply visit Gas Stash. They're wonderful as well. It's GASSTASH.com/REF/1000/. All right. We got that out of the way very quickly. We're 4 minutes in, and Mr. Joe has already ended that boring, annoying stuff. But anyway, so here's the deal, guys. Mr. Joe is about to have a block party. August 16th, I have a huge bash scheduled, and every year it just so happens that my neighborhood has a block party, and it's big, it's huge. I mean, I just went over the itinerary, and I can't believe it. I mean, I had no idea what's going on, even though my wife helped set it up. We got a fairy foam party, pony rides, water slides, petting zoo, DJs, tug of war. I mean, everything, guys. Every single thing you could imagine. It is so much fun, and it just so has. Sorry for the clicking, guys. I got my phone in this new I don't know what you call it. It's like a stand-up thing, and you just kind of stick it in there so you don't have to hold on to it. Nevertheless, the party's great. I'm looking forward to it, but there is one young man who is on my baseball team. He's been on my baseball team since T-ball. And the dad and the mom, who I'm very close with, they happen to be one of the other couples that have a block party every single summer too. And they're awesome. They're both great. But his passed already, and I just would like to tell you that I had the sit-down conversation with my wife 2 nights ago. She sat me down. She looked at me in the eyes and she said, "The block party." I said, "Yeah." I said, "What about it?" She goes, "Coming up." I said, "It sure is, August 16th. And no back surgery for Mr. Joe, which means, I'm going to be partying hard." She looks at my eyes and she says to me, "If you dare act the way you acted at Matthew's block party, you might as well pack your bags." Guys, I was nuts. I was crazy. I don't think I did so much wrong. I think what happened was I grabbed the microphone, I started rapping, and I went on for about 2 hours, walking up and down the street doing freestyling. So I mean, there are certain things. I get a little wild, guys. Let's put it that way. I would imagine that particular day I'm going to have a few drinks. Do I encourage that? Absolutely not. Am I a human being? Yes. Would I like to stay away from drinking? Absolutely. Do I think it's necessary for me to have a good time? Absolutely not. So, I get it. But this is the interesting thing here, is that I have invited a number of different people, and a few of them, although excited to be a part of it, they have stressed certain things to me, which lead me to believe there is a bit of social anxiety that is present, not just between these two people that I talked with, but just everywhere around. It was like the answer was, "Hey, you coming to my block party?" Yes. But normally I'm so worried to be around big places and go to things like that. But for some reason, I'm all right. I'm looking forward to it. It's that first part. For some reason, I don't know why, I'm feeling anxious about going out and being around people. But hey, it's your house, so I think I'll be all right. So here's the thing, guys. If you're feeling more anxious than usual when you're leaving your house to go socialize, it is actually totally normal. That's okay. It's okay, and it's okay at times to feel completely overwhelmed or even out of your element, so to speak, when you're in a large crowd or large party. I get it. I completely understand it. I mean, there are different phobias out there. There's something, agoraphobia. You don't want to be out in spaces, big spaces. I mean, it's frightening. Mr. Joe used to have it. Okay, so it is common, though. It is common, and it is somewhat normal. However, if you have these nervous feelings constantly and they continue to persist, and they're really causing you a great bit of, if they're screwing up your life, I don't even know what word to use there, guys, because here's what it comes down to. Anxiety, or even social anxiety disorder, guys, it could screw up your life. All right. Now, social anxiety, it's simply one of those disorders where the name is pretty damn, spot on when it comes to what it is. It's anxiety that occurs in a social situation. So, that's something that a lot of people are struggling with, guys, lately. And if you've got a whole bunch of anxiety that always seems to be popping up in social situations that stops you from doing the things that you want to do, well, then you have to possibly consider and say to yourself, am I dealing with a disorder? Okay, and I'm not talking about the person that turns around and says, "Oh God, I am in no mood to go to my mother-in-law's. All those people are going to be there. She drives me nuts. I don't like that side of the family, this side of the family." It's normal. It's normal to feel anxious, okay? But a person who has social anxiety disorder is going to have frequent anxiety, frequent panic, a considerable amount of discomfort whenever they are put into a social situation. And really what they end up doing or wanting to do, and Mr. Joe has been there a billion times in my life, what do? You avoid it. You avoid it. Or you take part in it and you want to lose your mind. Okay, and that's when Mr. Joe starts, thinking about all the things and making all these wonderful predictions as to what the night or the day or the party or the place, whatever it might be, the way it's going to end up. And again, usually I am pretty much, completely wrong. Okay, but listen, there's different kinds of social anxiety. All right, guys. There's one's involved being uncomfortable and avoiding those situations, whether it be a big giant party or even a small group of people, okay, that you might not well know. But if it's in public, if it's in private, and there's a type of anxiety that another kind of type of social anxiety. What about public speaking? You're in front of people, okay, and that is a big one, okay. Sometimes it almost intertwines. Like, think about this. You wouldn't necessarily have anxiety about going to a party or ordering food at a restaurant or speaking to a person on the phone who you don't know, but boom, oh my God, do I have to say this in front of people? I have to make a speech. I have to talk. Okay? So, could be quite scary, guys. And you want to know something? A lot of people believe this, dude, as well. Being quiet in a social situation, or if you prefer to socialize in a small group, that doesn't mean that you have social anxiety, okay? And it doesn't even, there's a word that I call introvert. We learned that in school, okay? It doesn't even mean that it's synonymous with an introvert, okay? Think about an extrovert. I'm an extrovert, okay, generally outgoing. I want to talk, I want to chit-chat, I want to meet new people, all right? But I still feel nervous and anxious or on edge when I meet new people or I go in front of a group. For me, that anxiety, it builds confidence in me. So there are different kinds of anxiety. But here's what it comes down to, my friends, and I know I say that a lot. It's important to take care of your social anxiety, to attack it, to combat it, to fight it, to do something about it, even if this feels like it's impossible. Why? Because it could have a huge effect on everything in your life. Negative effects on your work, negative effects with your friends, negative effects in your romantic situations, negative effects in family relationships. I'm telling you right now, one of the reasons why my daughter doesn't come to half the stuff is because she is socially anxious and she cannot be there. It really, she might make excuses that sound ridiculous, but what it comes down to is she's affected by the social anxiety. So what does she do? She misses a whole bunch of opportunities, okay, because she's isolated. All right, she may feel better at the time. Oh, thank God I don't have to go. But let me tell you something, guys. If you are doing that constantly and you're constantly isolating yourself, you're missing opportunities to have a good time, to enjoy yourself and feel connected to other people. And guess what is on the horizon? If you're doing that, depression. That's what it comes down to, depression. And here's the other thing. And maybe this will kick us into gear here, okay, and help Mr. Joe to get to the point, because the point is to help you guys, all right? Social anxiety is very treatable. And although the strategies for overcoming them basically depend on your own personality, who you are, and how much the actual social anxiety is screwing you up in life, all right, it is a very treatable disorder. So, listen, guys, whether it is medication, psychotherapy, a combination of both, it is a treatable disorder. So that's what I want to discuss today. We got to figure this out, guys, and see how we get past this social anxiety. So now, what exactly can we do to combat social anxiety? And I want you to hear me out on this one, because I know those of you who find it difficult to engage in public speaking, okay? For those of you who have what I would refer to as a mild or moderate social anxiety disorder. Okay, and listen, possibly it's not causing any panic attacks. Anything that is not causing panic attacks from a social anxiety standpoint, I'm going to refer to as mild or moderate. Okay, but something I'd like you to do, and I know it's going to sound nuts, please hear me out, but finding ways to practice public speaking is actually a very good approach. Now, I'm not saying call the president and ask if you could, get on TV in the White House and speak to the entire country. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about 2 people, 3 people. If, 100 people float your boat, that's fine. Not everybody is going to be like Mr. Joe. I love it. I enjoy it. That's what I like to do in my life. I like to speak, obviously. Okay, but there are honestly, guys, if I'm not being mistaken, if I could recall, and this is going back a long, long time ago when it comes to public speaking, I believe that I once read that it is equal in terms of fears amongst people as somebody who is afraid of heights, like Mr. Joe. Okay, that's how serious public speaking can be and how difficult it is. But believe it or not, they actually even have like little groups where you could practice, so you can be around other people that have difficulty speaking in public, and you guys could work on it together. Again, I know it might sound a little silly, but this is the truth, guys. These are some of the things that I know, at least, have gotten me past my social anxiety. I've spoken about one particular psychotherapy comes to mind, and I know we have not spoken about it in great depth, but something called cognitive behavioral therapy. That is a big deal when it comes to social anxiety. And I really feel like we need to create an entire podcast regarding cognitive behavior therapy, because really what it is, in a nutshell, it involves making specific changes to the way that you think about a certain situation, which in turn is going to help you change your behavior. Okay, this is a very, very helpful way to approach social anxiety. You want to identify the honestly, the wacky or the wackadoo patterns of thinking that cause us to avoid the social situation, okay? Why do we avoid it? I'll tell you why. I at least know why Mr. Joe avoids it, and I would imagine many of you out there are the same way. We are always anticipating the worst possible outcome. We are fixated on the simple fact that somebody might see something or say something or do something to us that we don't want to be a part of. Okay? Now, here's the part that Mr. Joe should be somewhat embarrassed about. Okay? But what would Mr. Joe's bipolar podcast be without me being honest? You want to know one of the biggest reasons, guys? Now, I'll go back to high school. Okay, when we were growing up and we were going through puberty and all those things, Mr. Joe didn't want to go places if I had a pimple. If I had a bad zit on my face, I didn't want to go. I was embarrassed to be there. I didn't want to go. I still feel that way. Thankfully, I don't get any pimples anymore, but once in a blue moon, one will break out on me. And by the way, my wife is like a loony bin when it comes to that stuff. It's like she salivates as soon as she sees any kind of a pimple or any kind of a whitehead. I don't know how people do it, but I'm just going to get down and dirty for a second, guys. My wife, she cleans my ears. She wants to pop zits. I mean, she's into that pimple popper show. Guys, I can't even turn it on. I can't even look at it, okay? But one of the things that Mr. Joe has always been worried about, taking a step further as I got older, if I was not pleased with my appearance or I was seeing something in the mirror that I did not like, well, guess what? I anticipated the simple fact that somebody else is going to see what I just saw. And basically with cognitive behavior therapy, and I know it's easier said than done, you want to engage in more positive self-talk rather than negative self-talk. And I know it sounds simple, okay, but it's really not. It's really not. It's not easy to keep yourself positive when you have all these negative thoughts in your head, okay? Something called situational exposure, okay? You got to identify certain social situations that you're afraid of. I call it situational exposure. And you kind of work your way up from easier to more difficult scenarios while you practice just chilling out. Just chilling out, relax, so that maybe you could tolerate the anxiety, okay? So, for example, let's say you have a large group and you've been avoiding group activities for quite some time. Well, guess what? I'm not telling you to go out with a whole group, but you should start by going out with one friend, one-on-one, and then work your way up to going out with a small group of friends, and you repeat this as you need to feel more comfortable, okay, before you attempt to go into any kind of a party or a restaurant, a holiday event, whatever it might be, okay? You got to work on this situational exposure, not only by yourself, guys, but just like cognitive behavior therapy, this exposure therapy is really it's a type of treatment that somebody like a trained psychologist can help you with, okay? This is not something that you should do on your own. It's something that you should bring to the table with your doctor or your therapist, okay? And listen, guys, I'm going to tell you right now, it could be extremely embarrassing for, and to admit to people that that you're anxious in social situations. And here's what it comes down to. You might need help. And if you let a friend know, somebody that you love, maybe you could get some extra support, and they could be that major boost in your life, okay? Many times people are going to feel more comfortable if they're in a social situation with somebody that they know, okay? Especially if you've been isolated in recent times. It's going to be very helpful at first to have one of your buddies when you get back into that social situation, because the key to this support is essentially helping an anxious person become more independent over time, okay, and not to remain isolated, because eventually people with a generalized social anxiety are going to find it uncomfortable to even go food shopping by themselves. Okay, they're not going to want to go out and get food. So what you want to do, if you're going to help somebody that is experiencing social anxiety, you want to, balance supporting a person and encouraging them to do things by themselves as well. Okay, so yes, you're going to want to support them, but you're also going to want to have them engage in certain things by themselves. You can't hold their hands forever. Okay, but if you're a friend of somebody who, is incredibly anxious in social situations, well, maybe you want to bring them into the conversation. Okay? Maybe you want to turn around and say, oh, I think Harry has something that he'd probably like to say on that subject. He really likes that stuff, okay? And it's almost like you're supporting them by bringing them out of their shells. Because let's face it, if you have social anxiety, you're not going to be thrilled about opening your mouth, but if somebody kind of leads you towards it, and again, you may not like being put on the spot to say something. So maybe if you're helping somebody with social anxiety, you got to talk to that person in advance about how they want to handle certain things. So listen, guys, if you're out in the public and you're starting to feel anxious and the anxiety is getting out of control, I'm going to tell you right now, it is very easy, because Mr. Joe has been there, where you become completely spiraling, out of control, fixated on everything that appears to be going wrong. And this happens even if you're the only one feeling that way. In the moment, what you need to do is you need to focus outside of yourself and remind yourself that, hello, this is probably anxiety. I can't read that person's mind. I don't know what they're actually thinking of me, rather than doing what Mr. Joe does. And I could look out into a crowd and I could assume that this person thinks this about me, this person wants to do this to me, this person said I did this in the past. We can't read their minds, guys. And I know this is easier said than done. I do. But you got to do a check-in with yourself. Do a check-in with yourself of all 5 senses that you have so you can get yourself focused. What do I mean by that? You got to distract yourself from those internalized sensations, from those horrific negative thoughts. And then you got to focus or refocus on what a person is actually saying to you. Okay? Think about your 5 senses. What are you hearing? What are you seeing? What else is going on right now? What could I see? What could I hear? What could I feel? That's what you are a part of, not the social anxiety fears that you have in your mind that you're just coming up with. Okay? It's not going to go away fast, guys. All right? It might feel that you even move too fast sometimes, and you got to spend more time practicing some other social encounters before you're up for the one that you're stuck on, or you need to work on more relaxation techniques maybe, or some distraction techniques so you could tolerate that situation next time. But guys, thinking about it differently, changing this, how can I change the situation next time? I'll give you an example. Let's say you go to a concert, okay? My buddy the other day was talking to me in the classroom about a concert that he saw, by the way, rest his soul, Ozzy Osbourne. Okay, but let's say you go to a concert, right? You start having a panic attack because all of a sudden you got 1,000 people around you. Well, maybe next time, maybe you sit in the back or on the aisle seat, or stay somewhere where you feel like there's an exit route if you feel anxious or you feel closed in. Because, guys, here's what it comes down to. Little do you know, and little does Mr. Joe know, that people are not scrutinizing our behavior in social situations. Because you want to know something? They're busy thinking about what they're going to do and what they're going to say next. So, unfortunately, guys, our anxiety usually magnifies the negative and minimizes the positive. So the things that we're really originally aware of about ourselves may not be particularly noticeable to others. So the worst is the physical symptoms, guys, because unfortunately that's what goes on. And when social anxiety disorders are going to lead to some physical symptoms at times. There are people that blush. I've never done that. I sweat. Okay, I get hot. I get cold. I get sometimes headaches, stomach aches, aches and pains. These are normal, guys. Okay, these are symptoms associated with panic, even if you don't have a full-blown panic attack. And we've been down this road before. The heart beating fast, the shortness of breath, losing control, fear, impending doom. I have a damn whole episode. Okay, because people that have social anxiety are going to experience some of these symptoms. Okay, whether it's intense or whether it's at a very lower threshold. Okay, that you are going to have these things go on, and determining whether these symptoms are from anxiety or, I don't know, something wrong with me. Okay, I mean, listen, if the pain goes away quickly after the anxiety-provoking situation has stopped, and you kind of have a sense of knowing that you're afraid of something, then it's more likely that you're feeling anxiety. But if you're not sure, you should probably talk to a doctor, guys. If you're walking in places and you're really you've never dealt with social anxiety, and you're sweating and you're not anxious, but you're hot, you're cold. I mean, obviously, if you have a known heart condition. I know I'm getting a little off topic here, okay? But you want to be much more careful about seeking medical care for any of those types of symptoms, guys, because, God, let's put it this way. I'm recording the next day, and one of my idols just passed away from a cardiac arrest, and his name is Hulk Hogan. So, guys, sometimes we think anxiety is just anxiety, and it's not, and it's more of a medical condition. But I don't want to get into that, because what am I going to do? Then I'm going to produce all this hypochondriac kind of feelings, unfortunately, which, God, I'm telling you guys, Mr. Joe dealt with hypochondria for years and years. You want to talk about social anxiety? My hypochondria nearly destroyed me in a social situation. Guys, I'm telling you, being a hypochondriac was probably one of the most intense, most disturbing, most influential times of my entire life. Now, granted, it was alongside the fact that I was having intense panic attacks, but one thing basically fed off the other. Okay, I would panic. I would think I was dying. I would start thinking, what's wrong with me? I would look those things up. I would investigate. I would then determine when I was going to die and what I was going to die from. And then my heart would beat out of my chest again and I would have anxiety. And then, of course, that isolated anxiety in which I used to just sit in my home and stew and think and cry and shake. Well, unfortunately, that translated to being out of the house in public in a social situation. I never wanted to leave my damn house. There was a period in time, and I've spoken about it a billion times in college, guys, 9 months. I did not walk out of my apartment. And let me tell you something, the seldom times that I did, that I went out, and I got news for you. I guarantee some of my best buddies at college don't even remember. They remember me freaking out a little bit, but, when you're at college, you're doing your own thing. You're concerned about the way you feel, okay? And the next girl that you're going to be with, or the next time you go out and drinking. And if you got a buddy who used to be your quote-unquote partner doing those things, hanging out, and now all of a sudden has turned into a complete 100% certified wackadoo, well, I'm telling you right now, it's not easy to deal with. I remember being made fun of by some of my friends. I had friends that would come visit from home and would come to the college and be like, well, what's wrong with this guy? Why is he not smoking? And they would laugh at me, and I'd stand up, I'd go in my room, and I would, shiver under the blankets. Okay, so, and again, the few times that I went out, oh my God, all I would do is literally think about what was going to happen when I collapsed and somebody saw me or had to save me, and I was taken away in an ambulance, whatever it might be, okay? Whatever it might be. So I was scared to death to be home. I was scared to death to go out. And, this is social anxiety, guys. We did not, one thing I wanted to say, and I jotted these down very quickly because I don't want to get away from the official diagnosis for social anxiety, because there is a DSM-5, guys, and there is criteria, and we have never well, we might have, but I wrote down very, very quick. You got to remember, guys, in order for social anxiety to be diagnosed, it's got to include persistent, intense fear or anxiety about specific social situations, basically because you feel like you're going to be, scrutinized or embarrassed or humiliated or whatever the word is that you want to throw in. Okay, and then in addition to that, you have to have avoidance of anxiety-producing social situations or enduring them with intense fear or anxiety. So you're avoiding now. Okay, not only do you have this intense fear because you believe you're going to be judged, but you are now avoiding these anxiety-producing social situations. Excessive anxiety that's out of proportion to the situation. That is social anxiety. That is one of the criteria that needs to be met. Now, can you engage in excessive anxiety that's out of proportion regardless of whether you're in a social situation or not? Yes. Example, hockey the other night. Just me and my son. I had to get him dressed. Dad, can you hold my Apple iWatch? Why did you bring it, son? You knew we had a game. Whatever. He places it alongside his bag. When he gets dressed, I gather up whatever I had to do, stuck it in the bag, and went on my merry way to the fence to watch him play. Well, a day later, my wife calls me and says, babe, did so-and-so give you his Apple Watch? And immediately, my heart starts to pound out of my chest. And now all I'm thinking is, oh my God, he handed it to me. I put it on the floor. It's there. The amount of crap that went through my mind within the matter of 10 seconds. It's at the camp. It's at the place. It's there on the ground. Somebody stole it. Somebody handed it in. I mean, and what did I turn and do to my wife? I can't take this. I can't even care for my own things. I'm going to care for somebody else. This is why I can't handle this anymore. I don't know what to do. Like a loony. Like an absolute crazy man. To the point where later on in the day, she kind of got angry with me, and she said, you can't get nuts over things that don't require you to get crazy about. So, nevertheless, you want to talk about excessive anxiety that's out of proportion. Perfect example. But with social anxiety, again, excessive anxiety that's out of proportion to the situation. I'm going to go to that party and I am going to fall as soon as I walk through the door. Because there's a high step. Well, okay. Big deal. You know that high step is there. You've fallen over it before. So when you walk in the party, don't get excessively anxious over the fact that there is a high step and you might break your neck. Because that's out of proportion. Take a breath, recognize your 5 senses, use your sight. Hi, there's the spot. That's where I tripped. 5 senses, sight. Don't have to be excessively anxious over this because I'm just going to take my leg and step over it. All right, so another one that I wrote down with the DSM-5 criteria, anxiety or distress that interferes with your daily living. This goes without saying, guys. And for what it's worth, we need socialization in our lives. It's part of life. So if you are avoiding social situations, well, you are interfering with your daily living. It's as simple as that. Okay? And the other one I wanted to mention that I jotted down, fear or anxiety that is not better explained by a medical condition, by medication, or by substance abuse. Okay? So really, guys, treatment depends on how much the social anxiety disorder actually impacts your ability to function in daily life. Okay? So that's why we may need, the psychotherapy is a very good thing. And I keep saying psychotherapy, medications, and I really have not gotten into medications with you guys, but for social anxiety, I'm telling you right now, if you're going to go on medication, the first thing they're going to do, the first type of drug is going to be an SSRI, okay, which is a selective serotonin reuptake inhibitor. I'm not going to get into that right now, but they are often the first type of drug or medication that they utilize for the horrible symptoms of social anxiety. Some of the 2 most common ones, guys, off the top of my head that I could think of, and I only know them more or less because that wickedy witch, I can't even say it, my mother was on them, or might even still be on them, Paxil and Zoloft, all right? And, listen, do I know if other antidepressants and medications are utilized? I don't know. There's something called Effexor, which is, as far as I remember, it's an SNRI, which is a serotonin, and I don't even know the other word, guys. I know that it's called like norpine. It is such a hard word to pronounce. I don't even think I remember how to spell it, to be honest with you. It's a Norepin. Pinephrine. I should put you on pause and go to Google and say, how do you pronounce this? But I'm not. Okay, but let's refer to it as an SNRI. Okay, and that might also be an option for the social anxiety. And listen, they're going to start you off low. They're going to start you off at a low dose and gradually increase your prescription to whatever that full therapeutic dose is. And I'm telling you right now, guys, with medication, be patient, because it's going to take several weeks. It might even take several months for your symptoms to improve. That's what happens, guys. That's what happens with medication. It's a waiting game. It's a flip of a coin, if I'm being honest with you. Okay, so there's plenty of antidepressants out there. I named the common ones, and then of course, guys, we have those what we call the anti-anxiety medications, benzodiazepines. I never know how to pronounce it, which is why I always call them benzos. Okay? Yeah, Xanax, Klonopin. They work. But they work they may work very quickly, but they also could be very addictive, and quite sedating, to say the very least. So, Mr. Joe would be anxious. I'd pop a pill, and before you know it, I'd be snoring. So, and there's beta blockers. They block they basically block the adrenaline, and it reduces some of the physical symptoms of the social anxiety, the heart rate, the pressure of your blood, the boom, 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 pounding hard out of your chest, things like that. And because of that reason, those beta blockers, so to speak, which we have not really spoken a whole lot about, they are best when used relatively infrequently, okay? And basically to control symptoms for a particular situation. So let's say you're going to go out and give a big speech, a public speech, okay? They're not recommended for general treatment of social anxiety disorder, but you're going out for that big speech for that one time. Maybe it will work. Guys, social anxiety, I know we have touched on it many, many times in the past, but like I said, it's been a hot topic lately. I thought I needed to address it with the audience. And of course, if you have any questions, guys, or comments or concerns, Mr. Joe doesn't say this very much other than the beginning of my podcast, but you are absolutely free to reach out to Mr. Joe at mrjoebp@yahoo.com. Listen, guys, social anxiety, don't give up if treatment doesn't work fast enough. You're going to continue to make progress if you utilize the psychotherapy, go to your appointments. You're going to make strides over several weeks, and you're going to learn new skills to manage your anxiety. You're going to find the right medication if you need to for the situation. But remember, it takes trial and error. For some of us, guys, those symptoms of social anxiety, they're going to fade over time, and those meds, you can throw them out the window. Others may need to take meds for a very long time, but to make the most out of the treatment, guys, keep your appointments, challenge yourself, set goals, take your medications, talk to your healthcare providers, and if you're doing well, continue to work hard. If you love somebody, if you care about somebody with a mental health situation, continue to support that person. And if you're struggling right now, guys, with some social anxiety, continue to fight, continue to battle, and most importantly, soldier on. Thank you so much, guys, for listening to the Mr. Joe Bipolar Podcast. Love you guys. Have a great day, and I'll talk to you again in a few days. Thanks again. Bye-bye now.